All right. Thanks, Rebecca. I will get started here, and thank you for having us. Appreciate working with Mockingbird Incubator and everything you're doing. Awesome to be working with nonprofits every day like we do at Little Greenlight. I'll just start with our introductions and then talk about the agenda, what we're going to cover today. I'm Hunter Williams. I'm the Vice President of Product Marketing at Little Greenlight. So I work a lot on the product development side of things, as well as with our customers, and help them understand how to use Little Greenlight, make good decisions about purchasing Little Greenlight, and then make good use of it as they get into it. What we're going to focus on today is how your CRM or how any CRM database can help you be a better fundraiser. And I'll be using Little Greenlight to illustrate a lot of what I'm talking about, but most of the concepts are more general to any kind of donor management system or CRM. So the things I wanted to start with is, why would you use a donor management system or a constituent relationship management database, a CRM? When is the right time to get one? And then talk about some of the solutions that are available, and then get into some more specifics about how a CRM can help you be a better fundraiser. We will do a quick overview of Little Greenlight, kind of who we are and how to get started with Little Greenlight. And then I have some time at the end available for a demo of Little Greenlight. I wasn't sure of the people coming, whether you'd rather kind of hear more about generally how a CRM works, or more about specifically how does Little Greenlight work. So you might pop a note in the chat box and Rebecca can take a look at those. If you really want more of a demo of Little Greenlight, then Rebecca, you can let me know if you're seeing that, then I'll leave a little more time for that at the end. But we'll be able to see Little Greenlight a little bit for sure. So kind of the main reason to use a donor management system or a CRM is to help you be more efficient in a lot of different ways. You have so many things to do in your role, and everyone's being asked to do 1,000 different things. You just don't have time to be inefficient, really. You don't have time to kind of have to hunt around for information or to get things out the door. So you want to be able to track a lot of people, a lot of organizations, and all that data. That's just hard to do if you don't have a good system. Tools can really help with that. You want to be able to steward your donors or develop those relationships in a way that feels one-to-one with the donor, but is able to handle a wide swath of donors. And then you want to spot opportunities and raise funds more effectively. So having all that data at your fingertips is great, and putting that to use as you do campaigns is really critical. And we'll go through all of that in a little more detail, kind of showing examples of what we mean by all of that. So the right time to get a donor management system or a CRM is really any time that you're feeling frazzled and overwhelmed by what you're trying to do when it comes to managing all your constituents or donors, volunteers, kind of all of that interactivity that you have might feel overwhelming, especially at times like the end of the year, if you're trying to pull together tax letters for people in early January, if that's taking days to get all that data together and run those mail merges. In Little Greenlight, you can do that in a matter of an hour or two. It's very easy to pull together end of year letters summarizing all the gifts that people have given and their tax deductible amounts. So if you have a proper system, it should be very quick to do that type of thing. Or if you just feel buried in spreadsheets and it takes you a long time to find the data that you're looking for. I heard a great anecdote a while back with someone looking at Little Greenlight and saying they were really needing a database because their board asked them to pull up a list of all the donors who had given for each of the last 3 years. And it was in a variety of different spreadsheets, and it took half a day to get them an answer for that. So something like that you can run in a matter of minutes in a good database. Or if your data is in a lot of different places like software, you probably are using a variety of means of fundraising and running events or managing volunteers or your program data. All of that can be in different places, and you need a place that's kind of the permanent record for all that data, that kind of 360 view of everything that you need to know about people. And we call them constituents. So our terminology in Little Greenlight is constituents, meaning anyone that matters to your organization, not just donors, not just prospective donors, but volunteers, staff, event attendees, really anyone. That can be in a lot of different places. So if you can consolidate that, even if it's not real time, but you have a place that's kind of your permanent record for that data, that's incredibly useful. So we like to say that Little Greenlight helps you feel on top of your data. That should be everybody's goal, and a lot of people are kind of struggling to meet that, but you should feel on top of your data. So I wanted to talk a bit about the types of solutions that are available. I saw one anyway using Razor's Edge, one using Airtable. There are a lot of different options out there. I'm not going to show all of them. There are dozens and dozens options out there, but just to give you a sense for how they kind of lay out in general. The graph here is broken down by total cost of ownership, low on the left and high on the right. And then the vertical line is built for fundraising, no or yes. And I'll start with Excel, which is where most nonprofits will start because it's very inexpensive, very easy to get started with, doesn't need a lot of training, but by no means is it a fundraising system. You can use it for a lot of data tracking, and it's perfectly reasonable until a certain point. But when you start getting into relationships between the data, that's where Excel really starts to struggle. A step up from that would be a Microsoft Access database, which is a relational database, which means you can track lots of different record types and link them together. So it can be built to be a fundraising system. It's not that out of the box, but it can be built that way. So you have to spend money on programming it to do the right thing. I put Salesforce on here pretty far to the right on the high cost side of things. I want to dispel the notion that Salesforce is free for nonprofits. I don't have anything against Salesforce, but just to be clear about what it takes to put Salesforce to use. It is built as a customer relationship database, and that can be applied to nonprofits for sure. The terminology might not feel right, but mostly you would need to spend money on a software developer to make it work for you. Out of the box, it probably won't feel a lot like what you want. So it does have a cost to it. And it's not kind of like Microsoft Access. It's not built for fundraising, but can certainly be applied in that way. And to give it credit, it is an incredible, powerful system. You can really make it do all kinds of things. You can track your program data in there. You can do a lot of different things, but it takes work and programming to do that. And then I put Razor's Edge top right here because very much, yes, built for fundraising, but also on the high cost side of things. Not just the initial cost, but the ongoing software cost and support costs. So you're looking at, thousands of dollars for sure. And then the last one I want to show here is Little Greenlight. We're in the top left quadrant, lower cost of ownership and definitely built for fundraising. Out of the box, Little Greenlight is going to feel very comfortable to someone who's working in fundraising and managing donors. It should feel like it has a lot of what you're looking for right out of the gate, and then you can also add a lot of customization to it to meet your specific needs. So this just kind of lays it all out together. So I want to start getting back into.
Can I interrupt you for a second on that last slide? We had someone ask about where that compares with YM. Are you familiar with that at all?
YM, do you know what that stands for?
Angelin, do you mind hopping off and telling us, or telling us in the chat?
I'm not familiar with that by that name.
I was Googling also, but I just want to make sure. Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
Angelin, if you want to pop back in, we can circle back to that later.
And one thing just with Little Greenlight, so I'm not keeping you in suspense. I have it at the end, but our cost is typically around $500 a year for our customers. That's for an account up to 2,500 constituent records, which is where most of our customers are. So for, just so you have a sense of what I mean by low cost, for Little Greenlight, I'm talking about $500 a year there.
Thanks for that.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
So getting back to the specifics of how a CRM can help you be a better fundraiser, and these three areas: tracking people, stewarding donors, and then spotting opportunities. I just want to go through those and talk about some of the specific examples of that. So tracking a lot of people, it could look like a sea of data, and you need a way to start to really organize that and make good use of kind of grouping and tagging people and filtering, so that as you're putting together mailings or appeals, you are reaching the right people. So for example, what we're looking at here are three of the ways that in Little Greenlight, the screenshots here, all of these kind of product images are from Little Greenlight. But again, it's more of a generic concept. Being able to track people by their giving status. So are they a top 100 donor? That's just a tag that you want front and center. So as you're pulling up a record, like, oh yeah, they're one of our top donors. That's great. I'll put a little extra into that letter that I'm sending them. Or are they a new donor? Are they active or lapsed? The default in Little Greenlight for lapsed is 18 months, but you can range that anywhere from, I think, from 6 months to 36 months. I'm not totally sure. But you can definitely set a range of the months there. Or are they a non-donor? And people often ask, should I have non-donors in my database? And yes, absolutely, because they hopefully will be a donor. Or even if they aren't going to be a donor, they may have other value to your organization as a volunteer, or maybe they could help bring other donors in. So you definitely want your database to include anyone that is of current or potential value to you. The middle is just a quick illustration of consecutive years of giving. That's a really high indicator of value. And if you're looking for people with potential kind of larger gift opportunity, or can leave your organization in their will, then looking at people with multiple years of giving is a great indicator. And these are all automatically generated in Little Greenlight, those tags. So based on the gift history in the account or in the record, you'll see these are automatically generated. On the far right there, volunteer interests. That is just an example of the type of category information that you could track about someone, or tags. So if you're asking people for volunteering, you want to send a note out to people who have a certain volunteering skill set or interest area. Being able to just click on that filter, hitting email, and send them a quick note. That's a super efficient way to stay in touch with your volunteers. And then by interest area, this is actually a screenshot from a Little Greenlight customer who works on sustainability. So they're tracking what specific area within environment and energy people are interested in. So if something happens in in the government, or you're working on some effort, you can quickly pull up people who are interested in that particular part of sustainability. Send them a little quick note, keep that relationship building. And of course, each individual, you need to know all of the details about them. This is just the very top of what a constituent page looks like in Little Greenlight, where you have their basic contact information, the salutation, and their giving history, including their first gift, last gift, largest gift, and some other statistics here, the types of giving that they are involved with. And then understanding relationships. And this is where, literally a relational database becomes really important. The ability to connect two records to each other. And that's where you start to really falter when you work with a flat system like Excel or a Google Sheets. Types of relationships that you'll be tracking, households, like how are household members connected to each other, and then being able to show the giving at the household level versus just at the individual level. And employer to employee matching. So as if an employee indicates that they have a matching employer and you're able to get funds from the employer as well, it's good to reflect that as a matching gift on the employee's record, because they have actually generated more value that way. Along the same lines, a donor advised fund, you would be showing the gift coming from the donor advised fund, but you would want to show a soft credit to the philanthropist or the donor who's behind that. And again, related, similar to that is peer credit. If you are working with a peer-to-peer fundraising system, you'd be tracking who is generating the campaign or generating the gifts, and then who is the actual donor. So you'd be tracking the donor themselves, but also giving credit to the person who is raising the funds for you. And just to be clear, Little Greenlight does not provide a peer-to-peer fundraising system, but we are a good backend database where you can store that data for long-term use. So you might use a peer-to-peer system to run a campaign, and then when it's over, you can load that data into Little Greenlight for future use. And then influencers, this isn't for a particular gift that you're tracking, but just in general, who are my board members connected to? Donors and potential donors, probably even more importantly, so that as you're trying to manage kind of campaigns like that, you know who to go to put in that extra call to raise that gift. This is an example of a report on household giving. So in Little Greenlight, I just ran this to show a report based on the primary contact, but then also indicate if they have a spouse partner connected to them, and then break down the gifts by the individual primary contact and the spouse, and then the total for the household. So you definitely want to be valuing that household as in its entirety. Not if you are managing the two members in separate records, you don't want to lose visibility into the total value. So that's something important that your relational database can do. And then I mentioned the donor advised fund example, where in this case, the gift is coming on the right here from the Gleason Foundation, $10,000 gift, but we're soft crediting John Gleason, who's the philanthropist who's behind that foundation. So if I do a search for people who've given a significant amount, I don't want to overlook John. He's actually very important to us, even though the money came from his foundation. So this would be a perfect use of a soft credit and being able to find that in your database. So we're going to talk a bit about stewarding donors. A lot of this, this is basically relationship building with your donors. it relates very closely to communications and how you're reaching out to people. So a lot of this is about communications and tracking that effectively. As you work on your mailing lists, it's very important to have these communication tags available. If anyone asks you not to be on their mailing list, you need to respect that and mark their record so that they won't get that communication. Or maybe they want specific types of communications and not others. So you want to be able to track that and then respect that. When you're acknowledging gifts or sending out an appeal for that matter, you want to personalize it as much as possible. So of course you would bring in their proper salutation, check that carefully, make sure your database is in good shape with salutations. Thank them for the gift amount. And then if they earmarked a particular purpose or fund for that gift, you want to thank them for that and acknowledge that you are reserving those funds for that specific purpose. And then also, as you develop that part of your program and put the money towards use, you know how to thank them and show them a progress update on that particular program that they're funding. There are dozens and dozens of merge fields in Little Greenlight and in any good database that you can pull in. So you can thank them and refer to their information, like if they're a member, what's their membership renewal date, what's their membership tier that they're part of. So being able to pull in all that kind of personalized data into your communications, really helpful.
Hunter,
Yeah.
I just have a quick question. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what a peer-to-peer system is and how that works together?
Yeah. So I'll go back to this slide, but peer-to-peer, it basically refers to allowing anyone to become a fundraiser on your behalf. There are different flavors of it, but that's the one I think of the most, where on your website, you could have a donation page or a fundraising page, and it might have a button that says, interested in becoming a fundraiser for us. And it would enable that person to then create a campaign of their own. They could probably link it to their social media, and then they become a fundraiser for you. And as people make donations, you want to track both the donation, but also who was it that was serving as your fundraiser in that case. Another flavor of it would be like a walkathon or run where someone might be soliciting donations on their behalf, I mean, for you, but in their honor, I guess, as they're participating in a fun run or something like that.
Great, thanks for that.
Yeah. So I was mentioning the communication tags, and this is an example of a mailing in Little Greenlight. When you might put 175 people into the mailing list, but we will automatically exclude anyone from that list if they're deceased, or if they have the do not mail tag, or if they don't have a valid address, just to highlight that for you so you don't get all the way through your mailing and then or get it returned in the mail. And by valid address here, I just mean a complete address. There are well, we have an integration that we offer as part of Little Greenlight, where you can run your addresses through it's a database of deliverable addresses in the US. And so what you get back is the standardized, it's kind of the postal service friendly version of the address. So it abbreviates boulevard properly, has the right capitalization and things like that. So you get back a normalized address that looks right. And it verifies that the address is on the database of deliverable addresses in the US. We do not provide NCOA, which is the National Change of Address lookup, but there are other systems that provide that you could use. But here, what I mean by no valid address would be if they just don't have a full address. but you want a system that helps you avoid awkward calls. We know of some cases where a mailing went to a spouse and addressed the deceased member of the household, things like that. You really want to avoid stubbing your toe. That's self-inflicted. You don't need to do that. Other types of stewardship opportunities is just tracking all those interactions that you have with donors, all the calls, meetings, and especially with the turnover that happens in staff, you want a database where you have a good history of all of that. This screen is actually talking about program data. I was working here with a organization that does home repair. And so this was showing how you can track program data as well. Little Greenlight is not built specifically for tracking program data like this, but this is the contact report tool and the task tool. So you can definitely put it to use for things that are not necessarily fundraising related. But just being able to keep all that history of all the interactions that you've had is really important. Two other types of stewardship that I think are really important to have. One I mentioned tasks, and so you can assign tasks to yourself as reminders. So if you talk to someone that said, get back to me in 6 months, you want to throw a task in there and assign it to yourself for that constituent, and it'll send you reminders and it'll be on your list of open tasks. Or if you manage a team, or if you have a team of fundraisers, you can assign them tasks and kind of see how people are doing against their tasks. And then goals is a way to track a major gift ask or a grant application, but in this case, I'll talk about it more like a major gift ask, which is not going to be just a single phone call. That's something you work up to. So you may have multiple steps on the way towards that ask. You can track the status of the goal, and it's kind of like moves management, that concept of moving the ask through a series of steps. I wanted to talk a bit, we're getting kind of towards the end here, so then we'll get looking at Little Greenlight as well, but I'm happy to answer questions as well at the end there. Spotting opportunities, I've kind of been alluding to this throughout, the ability to use all that data that you have at your fingertips as you're doing things like sending out appeal letters or a capital campaign type of ask. There are lots of ways that you can look at people's interactions with you and put that to use, like their giving history, first and foremost, but also their event attendance, specific interest areas, their volunteering history with you, wealth and giving indicators. That also is something you can track in Little Greenlight, but we don't provide it as part of Little Greenlight. There are other systems like Donor Search and Wealth Engine who can provide that. And then engagement levels, just in general, like based on the contacts that you've had with people or the notes that you've taken on them. So one example of this is a widget that we have on our dashboard, what we call stewardship opportunities. It's designed to help identify some sets of constituents in your database that you might want to pay attention to, but it's also meant to be just an example and inspire you to run some of your own searches like this. You can click on any of these numbers here and see the search that generated that result. But the top example here is who is a top 100 donor, but they don't have any gifts or pledges yet this year. Or the second one is who is a top 100 donor, but they have limited stewardship this year. And if you click through, you'll see our definition of stewardship here means, do they have a contact report? Is there a task related to them? Or do we have a note related to them this year? And if we don't have any of those things, then we're calling that limited stewardship. Just from the looks of it, you haven't had a lot of interaction with them this year. If they're a top 100 donor, you probably don't want to go the whole year without interacting with them. Live bunts and side bunts, people who gave last year but not this year, or some year but not this year. So just, and these are handy because they refresh nightly. You can also click a button and refresh them on command, but just nice to kind of keep things top of mind. Yeah, who should I really be paying attention to? In terms of finding a high value or the high value prospects in your database, you might want to look for people who have a combination of attributes, like people who've given for 3 years consecutively, and their lifetime giving is $1,000 or more, and they're still an active donor. They've given within the past 18 months. So, something like that is super easy and quick to run in Little Greenlight. You add those criteria together on your search and hit search, and you instantly have the results there. So that's the gist of any good relational database. You can track a lot of different pieces of information and then put it to good use and not feel overwhelmed, but feel on top of your data. So just recapping, we've talked about tracking a lot of people and organizations and all the data related to them, stewarding them effectively, developing those relationships and communicating with them, and then spotting opportunities for raising funds, based on the specific appeal or campaign that you're working on. So I'll talk a little bit about Little Greenlight, and then we will do a quick demo, but think about any specific questions you might have about either CRMs in general or about Little Greenlight, so that I can kind of direct the last part of the meeting for you. But about Little Greenlight, we are a cloud-based donor management CRM. So you can access it anywhere that you have internet access. You can access it through your phone, but it is a browser-based interacting. So you'd use the browser on your phone, but that works perfectly well. You can search through a database of 60,000 records on your phone and pull up the results. You can click the phone number and place a call. We have over 8,000 nonprofit customers now. We're adding roughly 1,000 a year. We've been open for 11 years. Most of the growth has come in the last 8 years or so. I mentioned our cost is right around $500 a year. It's $486 if you pay for 12 months in advance. So under $500 for the year. And we just on Monday or Tuesday, actually, we moved to a slightly new pricing model where it's literally a single subscription fee. We used to charge a second item, which was if you used our forms for payment processing. We added a 1% fee. We just cut that out, went to a slightly higher subscription fee, but it's still under $500 for the opening tier, which is up to 2,500 records in your account. And that's constituent records. You can have unlimited gifts, unlimited interactions, and all that. And then ease of use is really our calling card, I would say. I would say it's a little bit in the eye of the beholder, because people have different sensibilities around what they're looking for. I would say if you have a purpose, like if you know that if you're in the area of fundraising and you kind of know a bit about what you want to do in fundraising, Little Greenlight will really feel comfortable and feel like a good solution for you. I'll talk a bit how to get started with Little Greenlight, how to learn more, how to get started. These are
yeah. I do have a question or two for you that you can work into the demo or share separately.
Okay.
One of the questions I've gotten is, do you provide support on how to import data to the different databases?
Yeah, we provide direct support, which you can think of a little bit more like technical support. We have a tool that you use for importing spreadsheets, as you do that, if you run into any questions, definitely let us know. We can go look at the import that you're working on and tell you what's going on with it. Or if something's not working the way you want it to, we can explain why. We will not do the importing for you, and we won't be your project manager. So it's more like we're meeting you halfway. You're doing, you're managing the work, we're helping you with it. There are consultants available who are outside consultants who all specialize in Little Greenlight, and they work with nonprofits all the time, and their specialty is data management. So they're totally expert at all of this. And if you want to hire someone to do the data migration for you, or to set up your account and train and all that, they offer a range of options. So you can find a consultant for that.
Awesome. Thanks for that. I have one other question.
Yeah.
If you could name one thing, what is the most important feature people should look out for in a CRM?
I would really focus on the ability to tag your constituents in an easy way. So being able, like I would ask around, how would I track people with different attributes or kind of affinity groups, affinities for our organization, and then how do I put that to use? I would say that's kind of the most key concept of all.
Okay. And I do have one more question, and I'll let you do your demo. How, if at all, does your tool integrate with any marketing platforms, so like email marketing platforms?
Yeah, we are integrated with MailChimp and Constant Contact. Those are the two email marketing platforms that we integrate with. In both of those cases, the integration lets you manage from Little Greenlight, lets you manage who's going to be on which mailing list. And also in both cases, you actually go and do the email creation and sending and analyzing results. You do all that in the email marketing platform, but it's really meant to let you kind of manage your mailing lists from within Little Greenlight. And the integration is a nightly sync. We are sending whatever updates you've made to your lists, sending those over every night. And we're also getting back from MailChimp and Constant Contact any unsubscribe or undeliverable notices. So those get reflected back in Little Greenlight. So you'll see if people are not getting their mail and need to be attended to.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah. Little Greenlight does let you send email directly as well, but we don't market ourselves as an email marketing platform, really for two reasons. One, we don't have all the nice templates that MailChimp and Constant Contact have, where they make it really easy to create a great looking newsletter, all that drag and drop placement and imagery and stuff. We don't have templates like that. And we also don't help you really manage the opt-out link that you need at the bottom of all your marketing emails. MailChimp and Constant Contact both do that. If you send mail through Little Greenlight, email through Little Greenlight, you can set that up so you can create a link to a form that you manage yourself for unsubscribes. So it's possible to do, but it's not built into Little Greenlight the way we have it currently.
Yeah, can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Just because, Hunter, I work a lot in marketing with Mockingbird. What you're describing is totally normal because there's a lot of rules and regulation around email sending. So those features around unsubscribes and keeping your list clean are all really heavily managed. So it totally makes sense that a tool like MailChimp or Constant Contact would be used, because it's a whole other set of responsibilities than what's needed for a donor management tool. But that's great that they work together so well.
Yeah, that is really important. And privacy is becoming a bigger and bigger thing, as it should be. So if you want to learn more or get going with Little Greenlight, I'd recommend these first two steps in particular. One is a full demo, and I'll just give you a quick taste of it today, but we do a 1 hour demo once a week. You can sign up for that at Little Greenlight. The other is you can start an account for free. Our accounts are always free for the first 30 days. No credit card required. So you can start that account. And then if you're interested in continuing, you can subscribe. You don't have to subscribe immediately at the end of the 30 days. If it takes a month or two, the account will lie dormant until you're ready to come back and subscribe. If you have any questions, you can always reach us at info@littlegreenlight.com. That goes to me and my colleague, Timmy. So we handle the incoming queue there. And I am going to go to a demo, but I have a parting gift for you that I wanted to mention. This is a terrific fundraising book. You may be familiar with it because it has been around for a number of years. Written by Eric Handberg. It's called The Little Book of Gold. Especially if you're new to fundraising or if you're working at a new nonprofit. This book is incredible because it will make everything feel attainable, where it might seem overwhelming. Let's say you're a brand new development director at a small nonprofit and you have to do 1,000 things. This book will give you a lot of comfort and you'll feel like you have a companion on that, I don't want to say struggle, on that opportunity that you have. We have partnered with Eric to distribute this book for free to our customers or to our users. So anyone with a Little Greenlight account, including during that 30-day period, can get a digital copy of the book for free through the help page in your Little Greenlight account. And we've also created a companion guide that takes the concepts from the Little Book of Gold and shows how they can be applied in Little Greenlight. So we're really excited about this. It's something we're doing all year long. And you can get the companion guide for free off our website in our resources area. And if you have access to a Little Greenlight account, you can get the digital copy of the Little Book of Gold for free as well. So I wanted to make a plug for that. And then we'll jump into the demo. Let's see if that does it. Okay. That looks good. Rebecca, were there any comments or questions about things people wanted to see in the demo, or more or less of?
The only other specific thing I followed up with Angeline, the product she mentioned earlier was called Your Membership, and it's actually an association management tool.
Okay.
So it might be a little bit different, but if there are any new features that could touch on that, that'd be great. I've also been asked how to just make sure to showcase how to add a new donor.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm not familiar with that membership software. One thing that if you are a membership organization and you're looking for membership software, Little Greenlight does have a membership feature. It's free to include in your account. What we do not have is a member portal where a member can log in and directly manage their membership. So that is a feature that you may want to consider or look for. I have heard from some people that it's been a big pain for them because just managing the login process for members can be a challenge. So anyway, I can show you a little bit about the membership piece in Little Greenlight, but I'm just going to give you a really quick overview so you kind of know your way around a little bit. But we're starting here on the dashboard. So it's kind of a place where you quickly see the important things that are going on in your account. Off the home screen, we have a reports area, and we also have this Flex Importer link. That's where you go to import spreadsheets of data into Little Greenlight. So that'll be used at the beginning when you're loading data into your database, and then ongoingly, if you have an event and you are collecting attendance information at the door or something, you might have a spreadsheet to import from that. The heart of Little Greenlight is really these two tabs, the constituent tab and then the fundraising tab. When you go to the constituent tab, it opens to your entire database. So in my case, it's a small 700 person database. And then it shows you the filters I mentioned on the left with the count in parentheses for each filter. So here you see a little bit about the memberships. A membership has a start date and optionally an end date. Doesn't have to have an end date, but definitely has to have a start date. If the record is within the time period that the membership is active, then it automatically reflects as an active member. If it has an end date and it's now past the end date, then they'll automatically drop to former. And then you can set different membership levels or tiers. So that's, I'm not showing you right now where you add that information, but that's on a constituent record as you add that. But while we're here, let me show adding a new record. So that would be easy to do here. Constituents, add constituent up here. We also have this button here for add constituent. Every constituent in Little Greenlight is going to be either an individual or an organization. I always think of that in terms of, well, if we got a check from this constituent, is that a check from the individual or a check from the organization? That really tells you which one to use. You can see we have a tab for short form and then long form or full form. So you can see I'll show you. I'm listening to the George Washington biography right now. I'll make her the primary. You'll notice as I typed here that automatically the addressee and the salutation were being filled in. Let me change this to Ball and do a different last name. So you'll see that because they have different last names, it automatically is splitting out the addressee into two full names like that. If I left this out, it would go back to recognizing that they must both have the same last name. But that's kind of name information, contact information. You can have unlimited email addresses and phone numbers, addresses, and so forth. All those categories, you can add custom values, or on the fly, you can add new values here for any of the categories like that. Set relationships between the records and add memberships, affiliations, their school, who the steward is, like which of your team members is responsible. In Little Greenlight, you can add unlimited team members to your database. That doesn't have any effect on price. I know we're getting short on time, so I think I'll just kind of buzz along to the fundraising tab, which is where you see all of your gift records. It opens by default to the current fiscal year. You can set that to show all dates. So now I'm looking at every single gift entry or transaction in my database. And kind of like I mentioned on constituents, every constituent is either an individual or an organization. When it comes to a gift, every transaction or gift entry has only one gift type. But you can see all the different gift types here. I mentioned soft credits, peer credits, matching gifts earlier. So those are all related gifts where you have the hard credit from the person who actually made the payment, and then you're connecting that to a second person who you want to recognize as being connected to that gift somehow. In the case of a tribute gift in memory of someone, you would put an in memory of related gift on the deceased record. And in Little Greenlight, you can track tribute gifts, and we help you send notifications to the family that you identify in addition to the acknowledgement to the donor. But yeah, you can see, yeah.
One question during all of this, does Little Greenlight have like a form integration on the website? So like, is there a donate button or
Yes.
like collecting the names? Is that all through Little Greenlight?
Yes, I will jump over to that. So we have a forms area. I'm going to click over to my forms account. You'll see that it looks, when it comes up, it's still loading, but it looks a little bit different. And that's because we built it separately, but it's tightly coupled and easy to integrate into your Little Greenlight account. You can create unlimited forms, and they can be payment forms or not. Let's see, I'll pull up this example here. So what I clicked on view, and this is viewing the page as we host it, but the forms are intended for you to embed them on your website. So you can create the form here, and then let's see. Okay, sorry, I have to get back. You can create the form here, and then when you want to publish it on your website, you click this share publish link, and you grab this little bit of code and you drop that on your website where you want the form to appear. And if your website is a secure website, then people will stay on your website throughout the whole process. If your website is not a secure site, meaning the S on the HTTPS on your URL, if it's not secure, then the first page of the form will be on your website, but the second page where the actual donation takes place, and I didn't make these required, so I can skip all that except for this one. I can go to the second page. So this is the second page where someone is going to actually put in their credit card number. This has to be on a secure page. So if your website isn't secure, at this point, we'll render our page like what you're seeing here. But then as soon as they submit and finish, they'll go back to your site. So yes, we do have forms that you can put on your website. We used to charge for payment processing. Well, we used to charge 1% if you were using our forms for payment processing. And that is separate from the payment processor themselves. So you will need to, well, let me just show it this way. If I go to my edit page where I can actually edit the form, you will need to link it to your own payment processor, and you have choices of Stripe, PayPal, and ProPay. Those are the three payment processors that we integrate with. So you would need one of those accounts to do the actual credit card processing. We don't do that part, and so they do charge. Stripe has a nonprofit rate that's 2.2% plus 30 cents per transaction.
Thanks. Yeah, I know that's a pretty common thing that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I wanted to see if there are any other aspects of Little Greenlight people are interested in, or general questions about Little Greenlight or donor management in general. And I'm happy to stay on for the few minutes that we have remaining for that.
Any other questions? I know some of you have secretly popped some over to me that I've shared.
Can I ask a question? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I was wondering if the free version, I'm sure the free version has less features than the paid version. Is the book that you mentioned, is that available with the free or not until you upgrade it to the paid account?
The book is available during the free period, and I would call it a free period, not a free version. It is actually a fully functional account. It can do everything that the paid account can do. But the first 30 days are free. So it's a free evaluation period, but during that time, yes, you can get that digital book for sure.
Thanks, Angela. Anyone else?
And I'll just show you quickly, if I can move that. Okay. So on your little Greenlight account, there's a link to the help page. And the free digital book is this, the free copy here. So from this help page, you'll see this get a free copy. If you click that, it takes you to a service called Book Funnel, which is what we're using for the digital distribution. And then if you click on this book here, it gives you a place where you can download that.
Just so you know, Hunter, I think it stopped sharing your screen, but
Okay.
I do still see your active forums page.
Okay.
Okay, one more quick question.
Yeah.
What's the average platform that people leave to come to Little Greenlight?
That's a great question. About 40% of our customers come from Excel. That's the single most common predecessor. So, and then there's Access and FileMaker Pro and QuickBooks. And I kind of mention all those together because none of those are donor management systems, but about half of our customers come from another donor management system. GiftWorks, Donor Perfect, eTapestry, Razor's Edge, all Salesforce, there's a lot of them. So, but in general, we are very happy to say that we're really split between people who are coming from a donor management system and another half from people who are coming from a not real donor management system like Excel. And we seem to satisfy both of those sets of customers.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Hunter. And, thank you everyone who was able to attend today. Again, we're so thrilled to work with Little Greenlight and share them with you, and so thankful to them for sponsoring our Spring Incubator Seed Grant. You can also check that out on our website if you haven't read about the recipient this year that they helped sponsor. So check out those free resources that Hunter mentioned. We'll be sharing a recording of this presentation probably sometime tomorrow with all of the attendees and anyone who registered. So you'll be able to circle back on some of those details. And we'll also have in there Hunter's contact information, so you can follow up with him as well if you have any specific questions.
Great. Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone. We hope you have a great afternoon.
Bye.